You get to also, with the protection piece, let them tell you when they feel safe. And this is something that should have been done before. If they want to go with people, if they don't, you get to kind of help them to decide what makes them feel uncomfortable and what makes them feel comfortable. You also have to protect them from, and I know this is hard for parents because you don't want to see your child in this light, but you have to protect your child from becoming the victimizer or reenacting the sexual abuse. It's not that your child is, just completely trying to be a deviant, but sometimes it's just about copycatting and mirroring the behavior. And because we are human beings and we are sexual, there is some reward to being sexual. There is some pleasure associated with it. There is some oxytocin and dopamine and all these wonderful chemicals that are released during sex and during sexual encounters. So it is about educating them as much as possible to that and monitoring them so that they are not tempted to duplicate that behavior. And it's not that you're going to, um, you know, overly watch them and make them feel guilty and they haven't done anything, but you want to kind of neutralize it with the normality of how sometimes behaviors are picked up, but they don't have to be. And this is how, you just go back into reinforcing your body is your body, their body is their body, boundaries. And it's unfortunate that you do have to talk about sexual and sensations, but you're going to have that conversation because it's what do I do now with these sensations? And it goes back to teaching God's plan for sex and by having faith and continuously reinforcing what sex was for and just letting them know that the inappropriate way that they experienced it was never God's plan. And you can, as you go to therapy, and remap your mind because that's what has to happen is you have to interrupt that occasion and you have to reroute it with new information and new behavior, and that happens through therapy. So I definitely recommend that you find a good play therapist depending on the age. Even as teenagers, a narrative, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, a trauma focus where they can kind of just talk about it, draw, write, share their experience in a non-shaming way. And then you have to watch out, again, with the protection and know that Pandora's door box was open. And you may have to even be very cautious of their phones, what they watch, because they may become more curious and want to see nudity or, and it just pops up on their phone. So it would be helpful that you kind of monitor what they're watching and just to kind of help them, prevent from that type of influence getting into their systems any further. Watching them with their sexuality, if they are identifying now, if it was a girl who was molested and you see that she's more tomboyish or, she's kind of, moving in another direction, it's okay to have a conversation and deal with the sexuality piece. And because sometimes girls feel like, well, if I'm a boy, then maybe a boy won't want me. If I act like a boy and look like a boy, maybe a boy may not want me. Sorry, I got tongue tied. Or sometimes they just kind of gain weight and try to protect themselves in that way, or they become mean and become irritable, so people won't want to deal with them. They feel like they have to protect themselves in that way. And so it's important that you look at that. You really, begin to look at that. And for boys, sometimes if they're abused by the same sex, they do have a proclivity to give into that temptation and lean towards either being feminized. And so it's good to watch that and teach sexuality. And sometimes they can go overly and masculine and they try to mask what they're feeling by being sexually promiscuous with little girls and with females. So you want to watch that. You want to continue to have a surveillance on their healing process, knowing that these things will come up. And you want to be able to give them an answer and be able to be neutral and educate them and love them through this, because one of the things that they're feeling is the shame and that they're unlovable. And you want to reinforce that I will love you regardless. You're not in trouble. Because sometimes the predators will tell them you're going to get in trouble. All these bad things are going to happen. You need to tell them communication in this house is good. You're never in trouble. People who love each other communicate because we want to help each other. And that's part of helping each other is communicating. So you keep that line of communication open and make them feel comfortable, not just with sexuality issues or sex issues, but with anything, bullying, anything. You want to be able to not overreact so that your child can trust you and not worry about how you're going to be emotionally if they share some of the challenges that they're having. But it still becomes your responsibility to steward it until they're old enough to steward it for themselves. And even as adults, you may have to support them as they're stewarding their own sexuality and their own sexual preferences and sexuality. So as adults, if you're an adult and you didn't deal with it, and so now you're triggered all over the place and you find yourself just like sleeping around, or not sleeping around or not wanting to sleep with your husband, if you realize that sex is a trigger for you, then you need to be able to sit with someone who can walk you through your healing journey. It's not too late to heal. You get to heal. It may be delayed and you may kick yourself and you may be angry that you didn't take care of it. And you may feel like, oh, I'm so behind. You're not so behind. A lot of people don't deal with their sexual traumas or, their feelings about their sexuality. You are not alone. And the train has not left the station forever. There are plenty of trains. So get on board and allow yourself an opportunity to heal, because your young self does not heal by itself, by her or his self. It takes the adult or an adult figure to come in and to deal with that reasoning and those emotions of that child and allow that child to develop. I talked about arrested development. Well, arrested development, it happens because a child is not able to integrate or take in the emotions and the physical experience and the mental experience. So they just kind of block it from their functioning level and they stay arrested in that area. They think at that level, they behave at that level, and they desire sex at that level. Isn't that something? That's why it's called arrested development. Now, you may have some people who go on and they have sex with adults, but in that part of them, there's still a part of them that has arrested sexual development. And so they still deal with the experience and wanting to have sex the way they remembered, because they still have that wiring that's not good and that's not healthy. So it's not too late. And the process works like this. When you go to therapy, yes, you're going to have a lot of feelings, but you're going to learn that feelings are notifications and feelings are looking for you to provide a solution. But first, you have to be willing to deal with it. Some people spend their lifetime running away from their emotions. You can't outrun emotions. Emotions don't die. Energy doesn't die. It just redirects. It just goes into another area and expresses itself, but it does not die. And you can't get rid of it. So you have to make a commitment to deal with it, meaning that you're going to acknowledge it and say, yeah, I feel some kind of way. I need help, And usually it's after, like I said, failed relationships, low self-esteem, anxiety, depression, and you get to the point where I need to deal with this. I can no longer keep this in the one area of my life. It used to be locked up in one room in my house, my mental house. Now it's everywhere, running crazy, and it's ruining everything, and it's making me feel really bad. So when you make that commitment to deal with it, the next step is going to be you're going to have to feel it. When you make a decision to deal with your sexual trauma or your sexual immorality, you're going to have to make a commitment to feel it. It's kind of like getting in the water. You have to get in there and you just have to feel it. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be new, but you're going to be able to endure it. But if you just stick your toe in and run, you'll never be able to deal with it. So my advice to you is to make a commitment to deal, feel, heal. Deal, feel, heal. And it's a process. It's a journey. I know some people they're goal directed. You want to get through it. You want to go really fast and you want to just, get over this hump. But in dealing with it, it empowers you. That's how you take your power back. That's how you become whole. That's how you become emotionally in control. You become the victor instead of the victim. It's the process that leaves you empowered. You get your voice back. You get your power back. Everything that was stolen, you get back. And when you have your power back and your voice back, that gives you protection. And that gives you a sense of safety and wellness. And that is why you don't feel safe, or that you don't progress outside of being healed, because you feel powerless. You feel like now the event happened, but now your emotions are victimizing you. And now the memory is victimizing you. But therapy allows you to pick up your bed, and carry it. And you feel so connected to yourself afterwards, and you begin to identify a new strength, because the idea that I'll always be broken may have plagued you. But once you get your healing and you realized, I'm healed, it may have, caused me pain, but I'm healed. I may have the scar, but I'm healed. And now I can help other people. There is life after sexual abuse. There is healing after sexual abuse and sexual immorality. You get to walk in another direction. You get to abandon the place where you were and walk towards the life that you want.